A scam warning unlike any other. We talk about these often, and you may think these scams are easy to spot, but they're becoming more sophisticated.
They target anyone and everyone, and recently one was so convincing they almost fooled one of her own. Emily Blume is here to share her story with us.
Most of us have seen or heard these scams before, and oftentimes it's clear as day. We think to ourselves, who would fall for this? And I've thought that myself. Well, recently I was targeted, and this scam was more convincing than I ever thought possible.
Yes, this is Sergeant Curtis Huff with the Pierce County Sheriff's Department. I'm calling to establish contact with one Emily Blume.
It started out like any other voicemail a reporter might get.
Very important that I speak with you as soon as possible about an ongoing matter that I'm investigating.
But soon, I became nervous.
Once they get me on the phone, tell me that I have 2 citations for a failure to appear, and they tell me to write this all down as well, and contempt of court, and they give me serial numbers for each of those. Because of a disposition on March 7th at 9 a.m., Emily Michelle Blume failed to report for jury selection and made no attempt to absence.
They read off my previous home addresses. They tell me this is a Class C felony citation and say I can proceed civilly or criminally.
They say, you know, we don't want to alarm you, but if you choose to proceed criminally, if you're ever pulled over, that means jail time and hefty fines.
As I'm on the phone with them, I'm looking up the names and numbers they gave, and it all reflects accurately on the Tacoma Courthouse website.
So I'm thinking, you know, I feel like I may have had a jury selection sent, and I just threw it in the recycle bin because I don't live in Tacoma anymore.
Then it comes, the moment I knew something wasn't right.
You can pay by Venmo, Zelle, or Apple Pay. And because we've done these stories on these kinds of scams, right away an alarm goes off in my head when I hear Zelle. And I say to them, you understand that this sounds very fishy, right? And a little bit alarming.
They tell me the captain will call me on the other line. That phone number was also affiliated with the Tacoma Courthouse. I hang up the call and dial the Pierce County District Court to confirm my record was clean. Right away, they explain this is a common scam.
But my concern is, like, if I could nearly be duped into this, what about everybody else out there?
This is what scams sound like nowadays.
For me, when they were telling me all this, I was scared.
Yes, and they're preying on that vulnerability.
U.S. Marshal Craig Thayer says you can protect yourself from these scams by looking out for the telltale signs.
Law enforcement is not going to ask for payment over the phone. They're not going to ask for your personal information over the phone.
Oftentimes, they'll have an alarming tone with a sense of urgency.
Very often they ask, you know, people to post the bond, as you're indicating, or that they're going to lose something. They're going to lose their job. There's a custody element with their children, or other consequences that have, you know, a real heartstring emotional effect on the person that they're trying to scam. And in your case, they even had the second individual involved in the scam that corroborated this.
Sometimes these fraudsters will identify the U.S. Marshal Service as the one that will come knocking on your door if you don't cooperate.
That is not the case. We're not going to, you know, on absent a federal court order, you know, initiate any kind of a financial action.
Now that you know what the red flags sound like,
never divulge that information.
One more time.
Do not divulge that information to them. I've been at this a very long time, and I'm never surprised at some of the things that the criminals are willing to do to victimize people.
I was surprised once, and I'll probably never be surprised again.
You're a little more cautious now, I'm sure.
There's a high volume of these reports that come in, but each one counts in tracking down these fraudsters. They have analysts that work the data and special agents that are involved with investigating the crimes, so it's important to report each and every one of them, even when you're not duped. You can notify your local FBI office or the FTC. Reporting in studio, Emily Blume, 4 News Now.